The 7 most important paintings by Francisco de Goya.
Number 7. The Sleep of Reason Produces Monsters, Caprico number 43. From the year 1797 to the year 1799. The Sleep of Reason Produces Monsters is one of the most iconic prints by Francisco de Goya, created between 1797 and 1799, in the 18th century after Christ. This work belongs to the series of engravings known as Los Caprichos, where the artist addresses with irony and crudeness the ills of the Spanish society of his time, including superstition, ignorance, and corruption. In an Enlightenment context, Goya positions himself as a scathing critic of traditional structures. The technique used in this work is etching and aquatint, which allows for a remarkable contrast between light and shadow. In the image, a man sleeps with his head on his arms, while grotesque creatures, such as bats and owls, emerge from the shadows, symbolizing the monsters that are born when reason is abandoned. The composition is a reflection of the conflict between enlightened rationality and the dark superstitious habits of the 18th century. This work is crucial in Goya's career, as it marks his transition towards a more introspective and committed art. With it, the artist not only denounced the vices of his time, but also anticipated the concerns that would dominate Romanticism. An intriguing detail is how this engraving has been interpreted as a universal warning about the consequences of ignoring reason, a message that remains relevant in contemporary contexts. Number 6. On May 2, 1808 in Madrid, The Charge of the Mamelukes. 1814. The 2nd of May 1808 in Madrid, also known as The Charge of the Mamelukes, is one of Francisco de Goya's most iconic works, painted in 1814, in the 19th century after Christ. This painting commemorates the uprising of the people of Madrid against Napoleonic troops, a key event in the Spanish War of Independence. In a context of resistance and patriotism, Goya created this work as a visual testimony to the bravery and suffering of his nation. The painting, executed in oil on canvas, is monumental in both size and impact. Goya uses a dynamic composition and a vibrant palette to capture the chaos and brutality of battle. The figure's dramatic gestures and energetic brushstrokes convey a sense of movement and urgency. The Mamelukes, mercenaries in Napoleon's service, appear as exotic figures, accentuating the contrast between invaders and patriots. In Goya's career, this work stands as an example of his ability to combine art and historical chronicle. Its focus on human suffering and violence set a precedent for the modern representation of war in art. A notable fact is how this work, along with The 3rd of May 1808, consolidated Goya as one of the greatest visual chroniclers of his time, transforming historical episodes into images of profound emotional and universal impact. Number 5. The Family of Charles IV. From 1800 to 1801. Against the backdrop of a Spain profoundly transformed by the ideas of the Enlightenment and the impact of the brewing Napoleonic Wars, Francisco de Goya created a masterpiece that captures the pomp and contradictions of the Spanish monarchy at the beginning of the 19th century. The Family of Charles IV is a group portrait that brings together members of the royal family in a composition that, at first glance, exalts their authority and splendor. However, Goya's penetrating artistic eye reveals darker nuances. The characters, depicted with an unflattering sincerity, reflect the emotional and political complexity of the moment. Goya employs a style marked by unwavering realism. The textures of the fabrics, the meticulousness of the jewelry, and the precision of the faces highlight his technical mastery. However, What truly elevates this painting is its ability to transcend mere physical representation. Through the arrangement of the figures and their expressions, Goya hints at the internal tensions within the royal family, such as the lack of cohesion and the challenges inherent in leadership in uncertain times. The figure of Charles IV, despite occupying the center of the composition, lacks the dominant presence typical of monarchs in royal portraits, while Maria Luisa of Parma seems to exert a more visible influence, suggesting her role as de facto leader. This work marks a high point in Goya's career as a court painter. Beyond technical skill, it shows his courage in depicting the powerful with an honesty bordering on satire, a rarity in an artistic environment dominated by flattering praise. The painting also reveals his fascination with exploring the human condition in all its facets, even within the confines of absolute power. A fascinating detail is the discreet inclusion of Goya himself in the background, working on his canvas. This gesture not only reaffirms his place in the artistic scene of his time, but also suggests his role as a critical witness of a turbulent era. Number 4. The Clothed Maja. From 1800 to 1807. At the height of his career, Francisco de Goya challenged social and artistic norms with The Clothed Maja, a painting that, along with its nude counterpart, redefined female portraiture in 19th-century European art. Created in a Spain where decorum and morality dictated the boundaries of art, this work breaks new ground by presenting a female figure who, though covered in delicate fabrics, radiates a palpable sensuality. Goya opts for a relaxed posture and a direct gaze that immediately connects the viewer with the model, giving her a presence that goes beyond the physical. The soft, well-defined fabrics, with a chromatic range that combines warm and cold tones, highlight the painter's technical skill, while the loose, lively brushstrokes add dynamism to the neutral background. Despite being clothed, the Maja maintains an air of mystery and boldness, which sets her apart from traditional portraits of women of the time, generally confined to more conservative roles. This work is considered an inseparable complement to La Maja Desnuda, but not only because of the obvious contrast between the two. Together, they explore the boundaries between the public and the private, the acceptable and the forbidden, raising questions about the perception of the female body and identity in a deeply patriarchal society. The cultural and artistic impact of this painting cannot be underestimated. Although the identities of the sitter and the commissioner remain a matter of speculation, the fact that Goya executed it in secret adds a layer of intrigue that continues to fascinate critics and viewers. Number 3. The Naked Maja. From 1795 to 1800. Francisco de Goya challenged the established norms of his time with The Naked Maja, a work that stands out for both its thematic boldness and its artistic excellence. Created in a cultural context where the depiction of the nude female body was strictly regulated, this painting broke new ground by presenting a female figure that not only lacks any trace of classical idealization, but is also fully aware of her sensuality. Goya takes an innovative approach to the pose of the model, who lies reclining on a divan with an expression that mixes curiosity and defiance. The absence of mythological or allegorical elements, common in nudes of the time, reinforces the human and earthly character of the work. The warm color palette and soft brushstrokes create a texture that evokes realism, while the use of subtle shadows gives depth and volume to the model's body. This painting marked a milestone in Goya's career, even bringing him into conflict with the Inquisition, which considered the work a challenge to the morality of the time. Its relevance lies in how it combines masterful technique with a cultural statement, the autonomy and strength of the female body as a subject, not just as an object. An intriguing aspect is how the naked Maja anticipates modernism and its ability to provoke diverse emotions and reactions, becoming a precursor of contemporary art. Number 2. Saturn devouring his son, from the Black Paintings. From the year 1819 to the year 1823. Among Francisco de Goya's most striking works, Saturn devouring his son stands out as a brutal testament to the painter's inner demons and the political and social climate of the 19th century. Created as part of the Black Paintings that decorated the walls of his home, this work depicts a mythological scene with a visceral intensity that transcends its original subject. The painting shows the god Saturn in the act of devouring one of his children, with an expression of terror and madness that reflects absolute despair. Goya uses a somber and expressionist style, with a dark color palette and chaotic brushstrokes that accentuate the violence of the scene. The disproportionate anatomy and the empty gaze of the god contribute to creating a nightmarish atmosphere. This work is interpreted as an allegory of power struggles, the passage of time and the horrors of war, recurring themes in Goya's work. In the context of the Napoleonic Wars and political turmoil in Spain, Saturn devouring his son can be seen as a commentary on humanity's self-destruction and the insatiable thirst for power that leads to ruin. A fascinating fact is that Goya never planned to exhibit these paintings. They were a private act, which gives them an emotional authenticity that resonates deeply with the viewer. Number 1. On May 3, 1808 in Madrid, the shootings of May 3, 1814. Considered one of the undisputed masterpieces of art history, Francisco de Goya's The 3rd of May 1808 in Madrid captures the tragedy and heroism of a pivotal moment in the Spanish resistance against Napoleonic occupation. Painted in 1814, this monumental work commemorates the massacre of Spanish patriots at the hands of French troops and is notable for its ability to evoke an immediate emotional response. The center of the composition is occupied by an illuminated figure, whose arms are outstretched, evoking Christological images, becoming a symbol of sacrifice and redemption. Around him, Goya constructs a heartbreaking scene with anonymous soldiers representing the implacable machinery of war, while the fallen victims and their expressions of terror reflect human fragility in the face of violence. Goya's technique is masterful. Dramatic lighting, expressive brushstrokes, and color contrasts reinforce the visual and emotional impact of the work. This revolutionary approach would influence later artists such as Manet and Picasso, marking a turning point in Western art by prioritizing emotion and narrative over academic perfection. One detail that underlines the genius of this painting is the absence of conventional heroism. Instead of glorifying war, Goya shows its brutality, inviting the viewer to reflect on the consequences of human conflict. Thank you for watching our video. Subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Give it a like, comment your thoughts, and share this video with your friends and family.